seas.
That's the big inside there.
That's the size.
How do you come from? Teamwork! Josh star! But I got that.
What is going on, guys? Today we have a great adventure ahead of us. We're going to be heading offshore to do some reef hunting. I got two friends with me, Chris Dennis and Josh Lewis, two well-respected ocean goers in our community. I haven't dove with Josh for quite some time now, and we've been discussing about getting in the water for the last couple of months, and it's finally coming together. So really keen on getting in the water with a great friend and even better Sparrow. 6 a.m. and we arrived at the beach and the conditions look pretty good. The guys got the boat backed up to the shore where we could easily load up all of our equipment for the day.
Whoa, the old throttle.
String engine.
After about an hour and 30 minutes, we finally arrived at our first spot and it was time to get in the water. This was my first drop, so I took my time on the surface, got a good breathe up, and headed down for the seafloor. Being my first drop for the day, I was a little bit conservative by choosing fish. I basically just wanted to see what the surrounding area had. Had a couple nice barracudas, some jacks, and even a nice snapper, which I chose not to take. While I was sightseeing, Chris got busy putting meat in the boat. He lined up a nice barracuda and pulled the trigger. Quite often you may hear people do not eat barracudas, and I'll tell you why. In the further North Caribbean islands, barracudas are actually known to have ciguatera, and they carry a really peculiar smell. However, in Trinidad, I only ever heard of one case with somebody getting ciguatera, and it wasn't even for a barracuda. So we as sparrows, we like to harvest barracudas, and quite frankly, I personally find it taste good.
Thank you, Brett.
Nice.
With that first fish in the boat, it was time for Josh to make a drop. As Josh hits the seafloor, a school of yellowjacks come in from the left, one of our favorite fish to target and eat. Josh placed a nice holding shot on that yellowjack and we got it into the boat.
Wow. Nice. Fella Jenny. Uncle Christopher.
Christophine strikes, boy.
Still have it, still have it.
The old man still have it.
Pull out that yellows for Josh one time.
Yeah. Watch that. Watch that.
Not right on your board.
Love Joshua.
Well done.
Holy star, man. Wow.
That's a nice one. Yeah, nice one. One of the best in fish. You see, and nobody know about it. 12. Is a real nice bright yellow, huh? Yeah, nice one.
Yeah, real bright.
Looking forward to eating this one. And then, nice fish.
Nice fish, boys.
On the next drop, Chris didn't have a camera on, so when we heard his gun go off, we quickly swam to him to see what he got, and we said it was a nice African pompano. As he pulled the African pompano up to him, it was creating quite a commotion and got the attention of a barracuda. I quickly turned on my camera and used that as an opportunity to put my first fish in the boat. We put those 3 fish in the boat, got the GPS on, headed across to the new spot, and that's where things got a little bit tricky. This time Josh did the drop. He actually drifted off the back of the reef, so he was in a little bit deeper water than us, probably about 80 feet or so. He hit the bottom, took a little look around, didn't see much, started headed for the surface. As he headed up, he glanced to the left, there in the distance, a nice black grouper. He made the switch, headed back down to see if he could get a shot. Josh took the shot and the grouper dashed into a hole looping out the opposite end, creating a big problem.
Float!
Having a clip-on float accessible is very important for these kind of trips, because when you're offshore and there's a lot of current, maybe your shaft gets stuck, maybe your fish runs into a hole just like this one did, you really need to act quickly and get your gun secured to a float so you could let go of the gun, get in the boat, and reset to retrieve the shaft or fish.
That thing ran up in a hole, brother. Yeah, brother, this hole is as long as the boat, I swear. Huh? The hole is as long as the boat. But it came out on the next side.
That big shark you shoot?
Retrieving this fish was going to take a full team effort. We spent some time in the boat recovering and formulating a plan. Basically, what we're going to have to do is Josh and myself are going to head down to the seafloor. We're going to take the grouper off the shaft because passing it back through the cave at 80 feet is simply too risky and it's too dangerous for us. So we need to get the grouper off the shaft. Once that grouper has hit the surface and retrieved into the boat, then we can deal with the shaft. All the time, Chris is going to be watching us from the surface.
Yeah, boy.
With the groupers safely in the boat, it was time to retrieve the shaft using the same method as before. Josh and myself will go down and Chris will be the safety diver on the surface. Once again, we line up ourselves to allow the current to carry us towards the shaft rather than swim against the current. Josh headed down to the seafloor, and as you can see, a lovely dog snapper came into view, but no good in hand. Priority is to get back the shaft safely. Luckily, the current had already pulled the shaft most of the way, and it was quite easy to get it out. Anytime there's a challenging or potentially unsafe retrieval of a fish, the full team needs to be involved and focused to ensure the best possible outcome. And that's exactly what we did.
That's what you come for. Teamwork, Josh Star! Nice fish though, that's a lovely fish. That's what you came for. That's exactly the same thing you said on the way today.
Yeah, wow, big fish.
The next drop was my turn. Josh grabbed the camera and followed me down to the seafloor. About halfway down, I could see there's tons of life, and I'm almost sure I'm gonna see something to shoot. I look to the left and see a small cubera that shies away into the distance. As I glance back again, the cubera makes a full 180 degrees and heads back towards me. I lie flat and kick over towards it, line up the shot, and pull the trigger. The next spot on the list was well known for big cubera, but luck was not on my side. We did see a decent sized one, about 30 pounds or so, but got no shot or camera footage of the fish unfortunately. However, we did accidentally drift over some other rocks that had some nice dog snappers holding on it. As I headed down, I saw no rocks and suspected we may have missed the spot, but off in the distance I could see some nice dog snappers swimming towards me. As they came in, I extended the gun and got the shot on a nice one. Dog snappers are one of my favorite meats to eat, and it was one of the target fish of the day, so I was pretty stoked on landing that one.
Too big, Josh. Too big for the bed, Josh.
Josh did mention when he was filming me that he saw a couple black groupers off in the distance, and because I so wanted a black grouper on this day, I had to do another reset and another dive down just to see if I could get a shot on one. I took my breathe up and headed down to the seafloor. About 3/4 way down, sure enough, I saw a nice one, not even by structure, just swimming out in the open. He made the mistake to turn around, I lined up the shot and pulled the trigger. Now I know I said I like dog snappers, but I'll put the black grouper ahead of that when it comes to a good meal.
Nice black grouper.
Is it in the middle of nowhere or
Yes?
is it in flat sand? I was like, whoa.
The last spot that we hit has to be one of my favorite local spots. Not for the fish that we shoot, but rather for the amount of biodiversity that these reefs hold. The sheer number of fish that this reef holds is actually really hard to justify on a GoPro. It's so dense with life that sometimes you can't even see the seafloor. There simply is no other local spot that's teeming with life like this spot. Sure, majority of the fish aren't big, but you can't help but be mesmerized by the schools that seem almost impenetrable when you swim through them. Somehow Josh hit the seafloor and he was able to find a black grouper in all this life, and he got that shot and secured that fish. That ended up being our last fish for the day, and it's a great spot and fish to end the day on. Today ended up being a fantastic day and I had a really good time getting back in the water with Josh. I could honestly say I don't know much sparrows that have grown to respect the ocean the way Josh does. It's quite interesting reviewing the footage and seeing how Josh interacts with his environment. You have arguably one of the best free divers sparrows in Trinidad, and he's presented with countless opportunities to take fish, but yet he maintains that selectiveness as a sparrow and he embraces it better than anybody else I know. As I went through Josh's footage, he had so many drops where he had shots to take fish if he wanted to. They had schools of African pompano that swam straight up to him, showing no fear at all, and he just decides to leave them alone. There were other drops where he just decided to hit the seafloor, not even look for fish, but rather interact with a stingray that was sitting on the sand. There even was this one drop where it almost seemed as though the sole purpose of this dive was to reach the seafloor and just give a sea turtle a friendly pat on his back. One thing I could confidently say is that Josh has to be one of the most selective sparrows I've ever been in the water with. I think it's safe to say that majority of sparrows would have taken one of these large pyramids while hunting. But not Josh, he just decides to give them a peace sign instead. Even when a tasty cubera comes in for a closer look, he still doesn't take it just because it's not the size that he wants. He even allowed this large hogfish to swim away. At the end of the last dive of the day, Chris had made a small request to Josh asking him to support him as he went to the seafloor. Now Chris hadn't made it to the seafloor in any deep spots for the day, so he was really adamant on making that 80-foot mark. And as we were drifting over an 80-foot spot, Josh happily agreed to go down with him. Chris was able to comfortably hit the seafloor and return to the surface. Unfortunately, it wasn't the 80-foot mark he was looking for, but still had a very strong dive and he was pretty stoked on that.
Nice.
I can go past that too.
Easy.
But it's not mental thing, you know.
Of course. You do that super comfortable. You do that real normal. Well done. Yeah,
How much
well
was
done.
that?
Huh?
How much was?
72. Well done.
Every day you go out in the water with someone, you're given opportunities to make that person's day better or just simply do the right thing. On this day, Josh chose to make our day better by being dive support as well as being cameraman for majority of the day. Something that he did not have to do, but he still offered to do it. Josh, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to get footage of us. You did not need to do it, but yet you offered to do it and we are really grateful for that. Everybody else who's watching, I hope you all enjoyed it and please be selective and dive safe.